Hello and welcome to Watch Me. Today I have with me a pilot watch, the Zenith Type 20 Extra Special Pilot in bronze, sized at 40mm. I've often wondered why they stuck with the extra special naming convention and they have it printed on the dial as well, but hey, that's what it's called, and we're gonna stick with that. This originally came out in a 45mm case width, which was quite large, and traditionally, historically, pilot watches have been fairly large, but of late the trend has been more towards more wearable compact pilot watches, and the 40mm case size seems to be like the sweet spot. This offers a great alternative to the typical pilot watches that you see from IWC and some of the other brands in this price point. So to begin with, I'm going to start with the specs as always. This is a 40mm wide case. The thickness is right around 14mm or so. It's not too thick, but as you can see, there is a mild dome extension to the sapphire crystal, where I'd say about a millimeter or millimeter and a half there. And the lug to lug is actually not too bad. It's around 48 and a half millimeter lug to lug, and the lugs actually angle downwards quite nicely, so it sits well on the wrist. It doesn't sit too high, and it has a way of not weighing your wrist down. It's balanced. Now bronze has become a very popular material in the last few years for watchmaking, and this is one of the nicer interpretations of a bronze watch, where the aesthetic simply suits the material perfectly, and they have really gone and done all the details to match up so that it really comes off as a watch that was thought out in bronze rather than a regular watch that was just thrown into a bronze case. So one thing to note is not all bronze watches are made the same, and Zenith has a nice texture on their bronze case. It's a little difficult to see in the video, but there is a certain brushed mild shine to it, which has like a satin quality that really pops a little bit in the sunlight. And so far I've had this for about a year and a half, and I mean, it's been in the watch box when it's not been worn, but the mild patina you can see is more on the top side, the oxidization. To the sides you don't see much, and I would expect that to change over time for sure. The other sort of unique selling point for this watch that I would say makes it extra special as such is the lume, or the markers, the numerals as such, are actually super luminova material itself that has been applied as numerals. It's not like filled in. These are cut super luminova markers, and so the lume on this watch is tremendous. It really looks amazing in low light, and it holds charge really well compared to many of the other watches with similar type of lume design. So the dial has a blue sunray finish. As you can see, it plays with the light really well, and it's a lovely shade of blue. One of the details that I've always been a fan of with watches like this is the curved tip of the minute hand. As you can see here, the tip of the minute hand is curved downwards, and that really helps give the vintage vibe and maintain the overall theme and look of the watch. And I'd say these hands are just about perfect for the style of watch. Their length is just right, the minute hand hits the minute markers, the hour hand looks very well made, and the tone, the color tone of the hands match the overall watch really well. Of course, cannot discuss a pilot watch without discussing the lovely onion crown. This is something that is a unique trademark, so to speak, for the real pilot watches as such. I'm real big fan of the way onion crown feels, and the only sort of drawback in this case is because this movement is not a manual wind and there's no clicky feel when you wind it. It would have been nice to have it go click 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 when you wind it, to give it a little more authenticity as such for a vintage feeling watch. As it stands, it's very smooth winding mechanism and you can barely hear it. It's nice, it works, and the crown feels great, but would have been nice to have a clicky sounding winding mechanism. The other sort of vintage touch they gave is this plaque on the side. This looks like it came out of the hull of a plane. So turning it around, we have a titanium case back, and one of the nicest case backs that I have ever seen on a watch. It has tremendous depth and the etching is beautiful. So I'm glad they didn't go for a see-through case back on this one, because this etched case back really makes this unique and special, and I like this touch. Moving on to the movement, this has a Zenith Elite movement, which is a 28,800 bph movement with power reserve around 50 to 55 hours. It's a nice movement, it works. I've had it on multiple watches. The winding mechanism is very smooth, it feels nice, it holds its power fairly well, the accuracy is pretty good. The crystal is AR coated on both sides. One of the things that I noticed with Zenith's AR coating, especially the outside AR coating, is it's a lint magnet. It has this tendency to attract dust and lint more than the other brands outside AR coating, like Breitling or IWC, for example. I don't know why that is or what is different about it that causes that, but I have to keep wiping this watch down, because as you can see, in no time there have been like minor dust particles that have settled on it. So overall, fit and finish, build, attention to detail, Zenith really knocks it out of the park. I think the aesthetic appeal of this has been maintained, even though they've shrunk it down from 45 to 40. It still feels like a watch with a lot of presence and has a certain dominant look on the wrist, without going too far and without appearing to be too big, and I really dig that look. And this is, in my opinion, the best looking bronze watch in the market. There are lots of bronze watches that are popular, but I think this is the bronze watch to have, because the material suits the aesthetic perfectly. One more thing that I am a big fan of is how versatile this watch is when it comes to straps. So that's my quick short review on the Zenith Type 20 Pilot Extra Special in 40mm with bronze case. So thanks again for watching. Leave any questions or comments and I'll answer to the best of my ability. Thanks again. Cheers.